Hi, my name's Erik, and today in this video what we're going to be doing is we're going to be showing you how to do kind of quite a bit of a longer, messier, sort of choppier haircut. You can see that my model Dan, his hair's fairly long at the moment, so on this top area we've got a good sort of 3-4 inches of length through there. You can see that it's left a little bit longer at the sides as well, so we've still got a little bit of length through here. He tends to like to wear it a bit longer on the top area, much more textured, really quite choppy, through the sides as well, just to have that little bit shorter areas around there. We're going to be taking it shorter around the ears, so actually up and over the top of the ear. And then as you can see, looking at the crown area there, quite a strong growth pattern in the crown. So we're still going to be allowing the hair to kind of come with that growth, naturally tapering down into the neck area. You can see here as well that he's got quite a soft neckline that goes out the way. So again, still looking at keeping that sort of texture in there, a tiny bit of length. And then again, as we work around to the other side, again up and over the ear. And we're going to use a razor for this haircut just to give that real messy sort of choppy feel to it. Through the fringe as well, we're going to keep a little bit of length, very slightly asymmetric, so very slightly shorter on this side, coming around. And this is going to allow Daniel to actually flick that up and get really quite a bit of messiness and texture if he wants to use that, that extra length. So okay, we'll get him shampooed and we'll leave straight back. Okay, so basically the tools that we're going to use today are a normal straightforward razor. We've got a guard on this one, just to make it a bit safer for the client and for myself. So we're going to be using the razor to create basically a uniform layer in the head. So although we're not using a club cutting technique with scissors to give us a sharp, blunt edge, what we're going to be doing is we're going to be lifting the hair up roughly at 90 degrees from the head. But if I show you this, if I move one section, can you see that some of the hair itself, the tension isn't correct on it? I'm using this bad point effectively as a bit of a guide where it helps me make sure that the hair isn't exactly the same. If I had to comb the hair meticulously and take proper sections this way where we've got proper tension and we cut the line in with the razor, again we're going to have too similar a line and it's going to be too uniformed. So we actually want that to be really quite choppy. So as I say, a uniform layer basically follows the contour of the head. We're going to be doing this all through the top area, and as we look at it from the straight on view, again the uniform layer will curve around the head this way and this way. So once we start to get towards the sides and the bottom area, we will then start to curve into the head to give us short graduation, again all of the time using the razor. And what the razor will do, as I say, rather than give us a club cut effect where we've got a sharp blunt line which keeps all the weight at the ends of the hair, meaning the hair is a lot thicker, meaning there's more growth patterns, and also that the hair is generally less controllable. So by us using the razor, you can see it gives a really messy textured effect, and also takes a fair bit of weight out of the hair. So you can see if we kind of lift the hair up, it wants to stay. There's not a lot of weight within the hair. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to do, we're going to look at the head basically in areas. So, and they're going to be quite large, but remember we don't want this to actually be symmetrical and balanced. So if we tilt the head back, the areas that we're going to use is the top, the crown, through here, through the two side panels, and so on. And this basically covers this whole top area. From there down, that's when we start to graduate and start to take that little bit shorter. So we're just going to make sure that the hair is nice and wet. Okay, so as we tilt the head back, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using my hands this way. So I'm going to lift the hair up from the head, and I'm going to be using the razor to give me the uniform layer underneath. So basically I'm going to follow this contour around and so on, and I'm just continually lifting up this hair all the time to shorten some of that length. Okay, so the thing to look at here is that the blade itself follows that contour. So, and this is removing that excess length, and we're just working in areas, as I say, around that top panel. And you can see that this is how we actually achieve the contour of the uniform layer. Again, everything isn't perfect through here when you see this. What you can see is you've got different lengths, but generally that little bit shorter through that inside shape. So, and we just continually work through lifting all of this hair up, and you can see this is us working down the head and actually coming around into that quarter panel of the back. So just continually following that all the way round. And as I say, this does look quite random almost, but if you actually imagine that you're just covering different areas of the head and moving to the next one, it means that you're working with the guideline from the previous section, working all the way through to those next panels. Okay, as we come down to the sides, this is the area here which will actually work for us to start to graduate down towards that bottom area. So just lifting the head up slightly and then again working. You can see as I'm picking this up, these hairs around the crown area, they're that little bit shorter. As we come to here, all of a sudden they start to get that excess length and so on. So you can see the rough sort of guide where we are and where we're working to. So just working around in those areas, following that down towards the occipital area and working around the head. And then as you watch the contour of the blade, you can see it starts to come in that little bit sharper, a little bit lower. So again, if we turn the head around, we're working back up on this top panel, coming back towards this corner area, and then again, I'm just working with the guides from the panels around to actually work that down. So just coming through the side panel again, and this is the area which blends the uniform layer there and then tapers down towards that corner. So now by using the razor, as you can see, it's given us that real messy textured feel to the haircut, and that just makes sure that that allows us to get that choppy feel. Okay, so predominantly very simple, very quick, very easy, and what that's doing is when you look at the sort of side profile of the haircut, this is allowing us to see that we've removed that length. So if I just lift this up now, so you can see, okay, if I lift through there, so this line is now shorter. There is areas that are a fraction longer in some pieces through here and so on. This again is texture. All texture is a contrast in lengths. So when you go in with a pair of scissors and use your sections to club cut, all you're doing is you're putting a line in, you're also leaving weight right at the very edges of the hair, and again this makes it not as easily to control and as easy to style, and it generally means more product and it's a lot heavier. So predominantly we've kind of done that top section now. So I'm going to work on the fringe area. So as we turn them around, you can see there that what we've got is we've got that little bit of different lengths through the front. So we're still going to be keeping that shorter on the one side, still keeping a little bit of length, as I say, to allow us to keep kind of a bit more style in the front. Now, if you think about it here, what we're going to do is if we hold this the conventional way where we would normally bring this down, what that's going to do is that's taking the whole section as one, and we're much more likely to get more of a line through here. Remember, we want texture all the way through. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to work with tiny little bits of the hair, and I'm almost just twisting, and all it's doing is not anything to do with the twisting to give texture or anything like that. All it's doing is meaning that you can see it brings hairs together. By me doing this, it brings hairs from either side. So because they travel a little bit further in some areas, it will give us a variety of lengths. So again, using something which is quite easy, just to our advantage. So you can see here, just picking up little bits of hair and then slicing through. Okay, so you're starting now to get that feel of asymmetry through that top area and through the fringe. Once we've got that, I still feel that as this part of the hair, as it dries, you could find that that thickens up. So the last little bit, we're going to change the way we use the razor, and instead of using the razor like this, where we're working in smaller areas, I'm just going to work actually inside the fringe now, and then we're going to remove, so again, pick up a little bit and remove that whole part. And what it will do is it will break this right up. So again, just working tiny bits, and you don't want too much here. And this gives us that real choppy texture. Now, just before I go and comb it, watch what happens. So again, you can see that what we've got is we've got the softer line coming down with the softness on the edges, but I've then gone in and broken this up even more into that area. So as we now allow the fringe to sit, you can see that that's what it's doing for us. Also, because we've removed some of the bulk and some of the length, when he starts to decide if he wants to slide it up the way, you can see that this allows to give a softer area to cover over that hairline. Again, not really wanting it to be too far back, showing up different types of hairline. And again, if anybody has got areas here that are a little bit more receding, this is a great kind of method, a great technique just to cover those up. Gives you the softness, looks like a natural hairline, but also gives you that little bit of length to give you that bit of coverage through there. You know, you can see that that almost creates a bit of a false hairline. When you look up, you can see that Daniel's hair comes back a little bit through here, but that helps just to cover it over. Now, one of the other things that will happen, because of the contour of the head, if I show you this, so at the side of the head, we've got a flat area here, but that obviously comes down. We work on a three-dimensional round shape. So this area here is going to be longer. And there you can see the peak. And that the reason is when we lifted the hair up, our fingers are straight, the head curves down. So what we're going to do is we're going to work just on almost like a side profile of the haircut. And then we're going to comb this across that way. So just, okay, so when we comb it across, I'm going to lift up. See the peak? So if we just lift that up, you can feel it in the edges of the fingers. I'm just going to take that area there, just a little bit shorter. Okay. Right, so we're starting to get that nice texture into the haircut itself. Now, the one other thing that I want to do through the top area, which effectively is exactly the same as what we did on the fringe. We've done the outer shape. So the outer shape there is the uniform layer through the top, still textured on the edges here. But with this, we've gone in and we've broken up into these areas here. Same thing again. We're going to go, right, if you tilt your head forward. Okay, so you can see we're combing the hair with the growth pattern. And again, with this, what I'm doing is I'm putting the razor onto the side. And as you can see here, I've just bent in this edge tooth there, and what it will do is it will allow the hair to run flat rather than actually scraping along the scalp. So we're just going to put it in this way, and we're going to just nick little bits of the hair out, and effectively just working like this. And you can see what it does is it starts to create shorter pieces, and it's just texturizing. As I say, all texturizing is a contrasted lens. So I want to put a little bit more texture into here. When Daniel's hair, although it's quite fine, when it dries it tends to thicken up that little bit. So again, if you look at the difference here, what will happen when we comb this, although we've got texture, we've got it nice and smooth and flat. And you can see what's taken away. It's not too much, but that hair that's coming away, it's right into the root area. So it's basically giving us the maximum amount of texture that we can get. Okay, so slightly round, and you can start to see it just leaving these little marks in the hair. Now, one of the things to do, always do it all one way, that way, and then all the other. And the reason for this, if we had to do it straight forward or straight back, if he had to lift his hair back, you would actually see the lines going through the haircut. So because he doesn't wear it that way, and we're doing little bits rather than full lines, you will only see texture rather than sort of problems or issues really. So just working through there, and as you can see we're coming down towards the areas now, towards the areas here that are going to be those side panels. As we come round to the sides, I don't want to do this about an inch and a half anywhere near the crown, and the reason is if we take hair really short there's going to be no controlling it. It will stick straight up, or basically in the direction that it wants to. So you can see the crown comes down this way, it comes that way, and so on. So it just will do that with no control. So we just got to stay a little bit away from that area and any definite growth pattern lines. So just as we come through, that's fine. Okay, so basically now what we're going to do is we're now going to work on the side panels. So the side panels themselves, you can see that the hair itself is that little bit longer than we want it at the moment. So again, still using the razor, we're going to start to comb over the hair to actually remove a bit of bulk. And because we've shortened this area in here, it's almost making this look that little bit wider now. So again, this is what we're going to do. So we're going to take the razor, and again we're holding it flatter on the head, and I'm just going to comb and remove some of that thickness and bulk. Same as we did kind of going over and skimming the top, we're going to do that all around these bottom areas. Once we've done that, we will then actually go in and same thing again, just with a little chip going in, and what this does is keeps the hair short but keeps that extra texture through there. So you can see this is kind of removing that top layer of the hair, and it will actually thin the hair right down. So just working right the way through, right over the top. You can see, again, that's thinning that right the way down. Okay, so through here. And then, again, you'll be able to see a little bit of areas that have got more bulk. This is a perfect way to remove only the bulk, because the hair that protrudes further will come off first as we skim over it. So if you watch this area in here, so can you see that it's only that bit that actually comes off because it's thicker and more bulkier. Now what will happen is once that gets closer and it gets to the same, then we will start, you can see very slightly we're taking a little bit more hair off in those areas. Now also notice as well that I'm sculpting towards how that hair is going to be worn. So that works right the way down and right the way into this area through here. And as I say, this will give us that shorter graduation, and it will still mean you can see that we've got that messiness and texture on there. Okay. So we're going to be doing this method all the way through that top area, sorry, the back and sides, blending down from the top. So that's the area there that the two of them meet. And then, and as we come towards the edges, I'm actually just leaning a little bit harder to take it that little bit shorter and softer. So, okay, right. Okay, so if we run that way, right. The hair itself now, you can see, is just starting to get a little bit dry. So with razoring, it's always best, not always essential. You know, some people say about using a razor on wet hair only. You should be able to use it on dry, but remember, it'll only be little tiny bits, you know, not a full razor cut. The elasticity of the hair is different through that. So, okay, so you can see, again, just using the same method we did in the fringe. So working through and razoring through that top area. And that's just keeping that little bit shorter in there. Okay. Right, so as we come to the ears, because of the feel of the rest of the haircut, what I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using the same method again as we worked around here. Remember, I don't want this to be even. If I wanted it to be even, I would probably use a pair of scissors, but I think it would be too sharp considering the feel of the rest of the haircut. So again, what we're doing here, we're picking the hair up and just removing. You can see, just working with that, and you can see what it's doing is actually keeping a softer feel. So you will get one or two little tiny hairs that are a little bit longer and so on in that area. That gives us that messy texture, and when it grows in, it will grow in a lot softer, i.e. the same as the fringe and same as the rest of that whole thing. And we just work with the same method. Turn your head slightly across. That's perfect. Okay, so same thing again through here, holding the ear down just gently, twisting helps us to pull that hair together, and then just working with that all the way down. And then again, this is allowing us to keep that natural, soft, messy feel. And because we went over this way, with that, what it's doing is it's gradually tapering shorter and shorter. And as I'm getting closer to the edges, I'm leaning a little bit heavier, which again is bringing more hair off, taking that shorter, creating the tapered effect. Now, working with the same method around. And this is what I mean about the feel of the haircut. It wouldn't be appropriate to, with this haircut, to go and start edging and lining and square necklines, or even a tapered one. I think a tapered one is much sharper and is just not in tune with the rest of this haircut. So just picking up the small hairs. So, and all I'm doing is just picking them up, twisting, and then going through with that razor just to break that up. Okay, so you can see, giving us that shape. Now, I'm noticing as I'm combing the hair that I'm still a little bit rounder in here. So again, tilt your head forward, just a little bit extra. And you can see where the hair's coming off from, showing me that is that little bit lighter. And one of the things, when you're using this method and you want to remove more hair, what you should do is start to go against the growth very slightly. So if the growth pattern wants to go that way, and I comb it that way, you can see that I'm going over and over and over, there's nothing really coming off. So start to bring it a little bit round in a different way, or even that way as well, just depending on where you're standing. So you can see, watch this. And what happens is, if I show you this, if I bring that way, can you see how the hair stands up? Because it wants to lie this way. So by me combing it with it, it flattens to the head. So bring it a little bit away from it, and you can see automatically that we're starting to remove more hair. Now, if you find that you're still not doing that, again with really quite fine hair, then I would go more against it, and you can see that you're going to remove the maximum amount of hair that way. So again, just a bit of a guideline, bit of a rule. Going with the growth will remove the least amount of hair. Going completely against it will start to remove more and more. Okay, so just working around. So again, just the hair drying very slightly. So you can see where the fringe comes round, and remember, all we're doing is we're connecting the different parts of the haircut up to work all the way round. So you can continue and work from here up towards this top area, or you can continue from there to come down and then from there up. Again, it's really up to you. So let's work and follow the same pattern as the front. So let's bring that forward. And again, one of the things that you can see here, I think if it's different to the other side, yeah. So if I show you this on the other side, can you see that the hair looks lighter? And the reason for that is because the hair itself is actually shorter in here. So the longer the hair, the darker the hair will actually look. So if we come back to this side, again you can see the density and the thickness in that hair there. So there's two parts here that we have to focus on. One is the outside contour, then the other one is the inside contour through here. So in that way. Okay, and again, another reason why I'm using this method is because what I'm looking at is Daniel's beard. Again, beards are really quite in fashion at the moment, and something that a little bit more messier rather than too neat and too done looking. So just this keeps in tune with this and around the ears and so on. So it's, as I say, just helps to give that feel of the whole haircut. Okay, So that's fine. You can see there that we've got that messiness, we've got the texture, we've got this all the way round. So last little bit here, just working around the ear again. And I'm leaning a little bit heavier, again, because the hair's that little bit thicker, just in that area behind the ear. So you can see as now you will get bits like this. So again, make sure that you comb the hair properly and that you collect and pick up all of those bits, all the little tiny bits of hair. But also remember, we don't want it to be in a line. We want that to be that messy, softer, textured feel. And you can see that that hair's that little bit lighter. And if we just go in again, now, okay, now that's with the growth. So what it's not actually letting me take that away. So I'm can hear the difference. So that's taking that there, that little bit shorter. Okay, right. Just that last little bit, because remove a little bit of length. Right, so we're pretty much, so straight one from the beard. Right, so what I'm doing here, just having a look, and I'm just checking around the haircut, and I'm looking to see if there's any areas that I think are maybe a fraction still too long or could do with some more texture. So we've got the tapering, got all of this softening around through the edges. Through here, just looking at the inside shape. I think we're a fraction thicker on that edge. Okay. Now, if you remember from the top section comes down to a certain amount, an area, and we want to go further than that so that it actually crosses over. You can sometimes leave a bulbous area around the edge here. So what that is going to do is that's going to just make sure that we take that little bit shorter. That's it. And I'm looking at that because I can see the profile line of the haircut, so it can be fuller and rounded there. And when we cut that top shorter, that's pretty much what it left us with. So we're just going through the haircut now, and as I say, just giving it that one final check. Okay, so that's pretty much the haircut completed. Now, there's a few different variety of ways that we can wear this. Again, still that little bit softer and shorter, and you can see by the fact that when we actually comb the hair in the shape of the growth pattern, it means that it will sit flatter, softer, and a little bit more sleek. Once we start to go against the growth, we start to get that messiness, that texture. But to me, the main thing is that this haircut the style is in the haircut. It's not actually in the fact that he's having to use an awful lot of product in the hair to get it to do what he wants. It's in the actual cut and the style. So what we're going to do now, we'll just style it and go straight back.